I really didn't feel like I had any resources to go to. I was misdiagnosed for 16 years. They thought it was something else. And so every year when I went in for my physical, they would tell me, oh, you have this other skin disorder. And they take biopsies and what have you, and they come back inconclusive. It was a lonely journey, and particularly me being African American, I absolutely knew of no one in my whatever years of history, extended family, never heard of it, never knew anybody had it, didn't know what it was. It was just an absence of. And then when I said, well, how did I get it? And they tell me they don't know. So it was quite a shocker. Yeah, and then nowhere to go to ask anyone. How I found out that I had MF, or CT, as they call it sometimes, was I was leaving the home of a patient who was homebound, and I got a call from the dermatologist who had taken the biopsy. And she said, I have something I need to tell you, but you have to promise me you won't go on the internet. And I didn't know whether to take her serious or not. So I didn't respond. And when I realized she was silent and wasn't saying anything until she got an answer. And I said, okay, I promise. And then she told me, I think provisionally, I think you have something called mycosis fungoides. I never heard of it, didn't know what that meant. And she said that would be T-cell lymphoma. And I knew what lymphoma was. So she said, you're to come in and see me at 9 o'clock on Monday. I'll give you more information, but remember your promise. And I kept my promise. And I went in and saw her. And then she explained to me that it was an uncommon, she didn't call it a rare, she said it was an uncommon non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She said that she needed to send me to who trained her, and set me an appointment immediately with John Oleru. But in the meantime, they wanted to run all these tests, stick me through, I think it's the MRI, and make sure that I had metastasized and so forth and so on. So I went through a series of that over at the UW. And then I saw him, and he followed up, and we just kept going. And he took more biopsies, and he sent them, he said, to 6 pathologists. And he said he had to wait for them to come back to confirm what he believed he already knew. And it all came back somewhere in December of '99. Confirming the diagnosis, and that's how I found out. He said, I have good news and bad news. And I said, okay, always give me the bad news first. I'm that kind of guy. And he said, okay, you're African American. So the best treatment of the day doesn't work well on African Americans, and that was the light therapy, PUVA, he called it. Doesn't work well. He said, so that's the bad news. He said, but I think we can figure out what to do, but we need to do other consultations. So I had to see an oncologist, Dr. Russell, someone do intravenous chemotherapy, that was Dr. Petersburg, and himself. And so I had a consult. You know, you sort of have the gown on, open at the back, and I'm sitting there. And I was encouraged when Dr. Russell, who does high-dose radiation, that was his specialty, he said, I can cure you in 6 weeks. So 6 weeks. And so my spirit lifted. I said, okay. He said, now let me tell you about the side effects. And when he went through the list of side effects from the treatment he would need to provide, because I was covered, I was stage 4A, which means I was covered and you could see it in my blood, but it hadn't metastasized. I said, I know now why you take people's clothes before you start talking, because I could only think of one thing. I want to run out of here. Literally, I wanted to run out of his office. And I recalled that he laughed and he said, but I can cure you in 6 weeks. Well, we now know you can't cure, but he didn't know at the time. And then Dr. Petersburg, based on his long experience, he said, I see it in your blood. He said, but I'm going to make a professional judgment, and I think it's picking it up from your skin. So if you want to go with a different kind of care, you might have a shot at it, which is topical treatment with chemotherapy. Instead of shooting it in you, put it on you. And so that's the route we chose because I needed to continue to work. And because the other ones I would have had to, because of the immune system suppression and so forth issues, I would have had to stop working. John's method, that was what he had in mind. He said he was thinking he can go for that, but we needed to be mindful of what it could do to my white and red blood cell count because I would need to use it every day, and he was projecting 3 to 6 years for everyday use. There's a university called Bastyr, and we have Bastyr Hospital. They deal in homeopathic medicine, and they train physicians for that. So between Dr. Dever and Dr. Olerud, one made sure I stayed in the normal range with my white and blood cell count, while the other one put the poison available to my system to hope to kill the cancer before it kills me. And that's the way we went at it. For starting in February 2000, every day till September of 2008, head to heel, painted it on every day. Head to heel, because it was in my scalp and on the soles of my feet and everything. The impact the foundation had on me was twofold. One, Judy saying to me that she had survived it, that she was a survivor, not a victim, and that I could be also. Because it was very early on. I mean, I'm talking to her in 2000, 2001, or whenever it started. It was very early on. So I'm not sure even it was a foundation as a foundation when I first spoke with her. And then she had done work in terms of finding out pharmaceutical companies and how do you get medication if you can't afford it. She had that available and so forth. So it was like a progression for me with the foundation. The foundation to me is like a natural progression to where it should go when people more so start coming together. I don't think she had but about one person as a staff person when I first made a connection with her. The foundation is the only thing that actually comes together and support and makes sense about information. Like coming here today, I get the news. When I came in Manhattan Beach, we were at Manhattan Beach last year, got more information. So find out what treatment, what are they working on? I mean, they were talking orphan drug when I started in '99, nitrogen mustard. They said, oh, that's an orphan drug. I said, I'm in this field, orphan drug. What do I remember? What do I remember from my training? Orphan drug. Oh, no. That's a drug that the pharmaceutical company says it doesn't really want to make because it can't make a fortune. You with me? So it was good to pound away, and it was people like her and the foundation who push pharmaceutical companies to be aware. Don't take that and say, oh, we don't make that anymore, because there are people that get sick. We're just not enough for them to do the big board profits. These patient conferences and the connection they have with information centers and what I get to do up at the UW when they have them come to town and they talk about it and they include it is phenomenal. I find out something every time that makes sense because I'm not in remission. I didn't go into remission in September '08. It's just managed, okay? So I'm looking for everything from cure, which would be great if a cure does come, but I need to stay aware of anything that can help me manage, the illness.